I'll just quickly just walk through, about the company IT Talent Hub, okay, and
Mm-hmm.
where it is based out of, from London,
Mm-hmm.
and a few of the clients that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Myco, Transform, these are some of the companies where the IT Talent Hub have a partnership with, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and have developed projects as well
Mm-hmm.
for these companies. The ones who have taken training with us, they have generally been, got placement in multiple companies,
Mm-hmm.
uh, whether be it, HRM or like NHS. Okay. So most of
Yeah.
these, so the idea behind this is that we want to make you well equipped with what is happening with the current latest trending technologies,
Uh-huh.
and bring in, um, you know, bring in what is required for you to be, accustomed to the job market that is currently going on. So right now the job market is slightly towards, AI
Yeah.
and automation sort.
Yeah.
So that's where DevOps also goes hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what is required right now. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so some of the things that we will be covering, the curriculum is designed as per the UK job market. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
top consultants and companies will be providing certain links where you can apply, and if there are interviews that are happening, we'll help you along the process for you to have a smooth transition for the
Yeah.
jobs. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So slightly before we move ahead, I'll just give you an idea of what DevOps is. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not sure if you had it during the master. Did you have a subject on DevOps?
No, I don't have.
Okay. Okay. So I'll just slightly tell you what is expectation. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
DevOps and cloud computing, I suppose you would have had at least an
Yeah,
intro,
yeah. We have a
right?
cloud computing.
Yeah. So DevOps and cloud go hand in hand. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
like we will be talking about what is called as development,
Yeah.
and OPS stands for operations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So generally, developer, already the one who writes the software, right? Who
Mm.
generally writes the code, whether be
Code.
it
Yeah.
in any language, right? It
Mm-hmm.
could be say
Mm.
Java code, it could be a Node.js, whatever be it, maybe some other front end code, whatever be it, the developers would be writing it, whether it be
Mm.
front end developers or back end developers. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And generally, we have the operations team. So, operations team are the ones who are like the network engineers.
Okay.
And say, for instance, the system engineers, the ones who maintain the whole thing. Okay. So, that
Mm-hmm.
means if you have a server, okay,
Yeah.
so this code that is written by the developer has to be deployed. Deployed, you say, as an installed, right?
Yeah.
It has to be deployed. But
Yeah.
where there should be some endpoint, right? That machine
Mm.
is called as the server, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this server can be either on premise. On premise means a physical location, like a data, like my laptop. That's considered as on premise, or it could be on the
Mm-hmm.
cloud, right? So since we
Yeah.
are learning DevOps and cloud, we would ideally be doing the entire thing, what developers and
Mm-hmm.
operations do together, but on cloud environment.
Okay.
Okay. So when I say cloud environment, we will be covering mainly AWS. But since the job market also prefers Azure, we will also slightly
Mm-hmm.
cover Azure as well. So whatever we are learning, all the tools, okay, when we say
Mm.
DevOps tools, okay, why do you need these
Mm.
tools? Because what happens is the developer would be having version one of the code written, right? You know
Mm.
that code is generally versionized. So you would be using any tool like GitHub for versioning the code. Okay.
Okay.
Why you want versioning? Because you want to know a history of who made a change at what time, right? Suppose developer one made a change at particular time,
Mm.
12 o'clock. Okay. And developer two
Yeah.
made a change at say 12:30. And you want to revert
Okay.
back to the old code, right? So
Okay.
you want to know what were the changes being done at that time. So full
Mm-hmm.
versioning history is required of the code, right?
Okay.
And thing is, whenever we have a version of a code, what happens is
Mm-hmm.
people manually deploy it onto the server. Okay, we
Okay.
manually install the code on the server. Now, this manual task is kind of tedious in the long run because previously what happens, people used to not make too many changes, right? Companies used to have
Mm-hmm.
maybe one feature change, maybe you want to add one image or some contact us page or something like that. Changes were not that very frequent. Okay, but now it's not
Mm-hmm.
like that. Now it's like everybody wants to be in the game, everybody wants to make so many features very fast. So when you go ahead and do
Mm-hmm.
that very fast, what happens is there's so many
Mm-hmm.
versions. Version 1, version 2, version 3, it just goes on. And maybe so
Mm-hmm.
many versions within a one day or maybe hundreds in a week, in 1 week. So
Okay.
what happens is
Mm-hmm.
developer is not getting time to focus on writing the code. He is more
Mm-hmm.
busy in making sure the correct version of the code has gone to the server. You got it.
Okay.
Maybe he
Mm. Yeah.
wanted version 3 to go to the server. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm.
code that is running is version 4, which was a buggy code, which had a bug.
Okay.
And he wanted to
Mm-hmm.
revert to version 3. He thought the version 3 was running, but actually version 4 was running. So mistakes happen,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Okay.
whenever we have some sort of manual thing that's going on, there are likely chances of problems happening, mistakes happening, right? So that's why we
Mm.
want a sort of an automation process,
Okay.
right? That
Mm-hmm.
automation process you can acquire by what we call as a pipeline,
Okay.
right? Okay.
Okay.
So just like suppose, if I have a tap, water tap,
Yeah.
water
Yeah.
is coming. Okay. If I want to, and I have a tree over here. Okay.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
want water to go to this tree. What will I take? I'll take a bucket, capture the water, walk all the way here, put the water
Mm.
here, then come back again fill it, again go back. That's one way. Or if I already have a pipeline system set up, the water is going to go in a streamlined process, right? And with
Mm.
stages. Okay, so this pipeline system is nothing but you will be using certain tools. So, like for instance, Jenkins. Okay, these are all the
Mm-hmm.
tools that we're going to be learning in the course. One is, of course, the first
Okay.
one, which is GitHub,
GitHub. Yeah.
versioning of the code, versioning of code. Okay, that is the first
Mm-hmm.
one. Okay,
Okay.
second one. So this is like the source, the tap
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
where the water is going to come. And the second thing that we want a pipeline to bring that code, right? So that we need to use
Mm-hmm.
something like a DevOps tool like Jenkins. Okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a pipeline, imagine if there's something stuck in between.
Mm-hmm.
Will the water flow till the end?
Yeah.
No, if something is stuck inside the pipeline, some dirt or
Okay.
something, the water
Mm-hmm.
cannot flow, right? It got stuck there.
Mm.
Right. Same way in Jenkins, you have something like stages.
Mm-hmm.
If we call as stages. Okay. Like for
Okay.
instance, what we do initially, we take the source code, we build it,
Mm-hmm.
we test it, and then we deploy it. Okay.
Okay.
But at the test time, we will be connecting certain testing tools as well, automation testing tools. So we learn automation testing tools.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, Selenium.
Okay.
Okay. So what happens
Oh,
if the test fails? It's as good as something getting stuck. Got it. This
yeah.
stage did not pass. That means what?
Yeah.
That version of code that had come in, say version 1, will not be allowed to
Mm-hmm.
go to the server. Got it. Deployment happens
Yeah.
at the server. The tree is this. This is the tree. Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens? It stops. The test failed. So now what will happen? You have to solve the problem, make sure it passes the test, everything gets cleared, then it gets deployed to the server. Okay, so since you have
Mm.
automation testing happening in the stages of the pipeline, we can sit back and relax, right? So
Okay.
basically, a DevOps engineer's job is to create these kind of automation systems. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yes, and once we create them, we need to just maintain and go. Okay. So
Mm.
creation part is where we will be learning a lot in the coursework. Okay.
Mhm.
Just a second. Yeah. Any doubt till here you had? So this
No,
is
no.
what no. Okay. So this is what I was trying to tell you here. You can see here.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
What is DevOps? DevOps is like a learning certain what do you say? Tools, DevOps tools that we're going to do. Okay. And
Mhm.
it's not about just tools, but a certain practice also that you have to adopt. Okay.
Mm.
Upgrading, learning how to make sure these tools are being incorporated. All these things are in place. Okay. And teamwork,
Mm. Mm.
right? All these
Mm.
things are what we call as DevOps. Okay. Everything should be in place. Okay. Because what
Okay.
happens? Developers and operations team should be in sync.
Okay.
Okay, so what happens is they generally fight with each other
Okay.
because developer will say that I told you to put version number 1, then the operation
Mm.
team will tell, oh no, but I put this particular version in the server, I made a mistake.
Mm.
So they start fighting with each other. That should not happen, right? So just by
Mm.
having a bunch of tools is not sufficient. We need teamwork also happening, right?
Okay.
So what it creates is this kind of a delivery pipeline, okay, where
Mm.
the company you work for, which who would hire you as a DevOps engineer, you'll have to set up like this kind of pipeline with different
Mm.
stages. Okay.
Okay.
Once it is released to the server, the customer will be able to see the website, right?
Mm.
Customer will be able to see the website. Once a customer is able to see the website, that doesn't mean our job is over. What we need to do, we need to also monitor the
Mm.
website, what we
Okay.
have set up, okay, and get feedback from the customer and replan, basically replan and rebuild again. If there's something buggy that's happened, then we solve it and then rebuild the system and make it go through this pipeline again. So it's like an
Okay.
infinite process. You understood?
Yeah.
Eh, right? So same way, so developers also have certain challenges. Okay, like for
Mhm.
instance, I have written a version 1 of the code and I have to wait for the code to reach the server, and then only I can work on version 2. Now there is no wait time because everything is quick deployment. Right? Everything happens really, really fast. So no need to
Okay.
wait. So developer can
Okay.
focus on new code. See, pressure of working on, he can work on new code. Right? So there is no waiting time now. Okay. So you can always focus on new code. That is a solution that DevOps engineers provide to developers. Okay. Then there are certain things which operations team. Operations team is who I said, system administrators. They are the operations team. Okay. And network engineers. How we as a DevOps engineer, okay, we can solve the problems that the operations team are facing. What are they? We are always providing continuous monitoring, okay, of all the servers that are there. Then you have certain things like configuration management, okay, the infrastructure, all the servers have to be maintained. Okay, now suppose you're watching, say a FIFA World Cup match, right? In the finals, what happens? The number of people watching that match would just completely spike, right? On the final match. Previous matches, no, not that many people are going to watch that football match, right? But on the day of the final, the number of people who are going to watch the football match will be extremely high, right? So what are we going to do? We are going to have to increase the number of servers, right? We on that day. So the day of the final, we need say I'm just giving an example, say 10,000 servers. Okay, but Right after the final, do we require 10,000 servers? All 10,000? After the final, football match is over, right? You got what I'm saying. So there is no
Yeah.
requirement to have that many number of servers. So suddenly we want to scale down.
Yeah.
Say 100, back to 100. Okay. But on the day of the final, we want to scale up to 10,000. Okay, number of servers. All this
Okay.
is comes under, say, for instance, we are trying to help the operations team with a bunch of automation tools. Okay.
Okay.
So we can use certain things like Ansible and Terraform. Terraform is used to spin up infrastructure. Okay. So
Yeah.
if I want 100 servers, okay. And then with the help of a particular code, I change my script and I deploy that script. What happens? Number of servers gets created automatically. The moment I don't want it, I can scale down. Okay. So those kind
Okay.
of things, all automation happens at the time of when you are a DevOps engineer. So our job is to do that, right? There's one more
Yeah.
thing that generally happens is the code. Right?
Yeah.
I think, what is your favorite programming language?
Python.
Python. Okay. So when
Yeah.
you have Python, right?
Yeah.
So we want a particular code that runs on all operating systems. Okay. Now there
Yeah.
would be particular code that requires Python. There are
Yeah.
dependencies. It requires Python for it the code to run. Maybe some other
Yeah.
libraries for it to run. Okay. So
Yeah.
suppose this is the requirement. Okay. Now I
Mm-hmm.
have one machine, one server
Mm-hmm.
where the code is, I put the code. Okay. But that server has Python in it. Very good. It has Python. But it does not have the libraries that are required. Will the code run successfully? It doesn't have all the dependency which the code requires for it to run. Python is there, but certain dependent libraries of which is required is not there. So the code will not run. Right. If I
Yeah.
have another server, I deploy it on another server. Okay. And that server has code. Okay. And all the libraries, but no Python. And suppose you also have a dependency that the code will run. So this kind of problems, what is called as inconsistent environment, needs to be solved, right? Here, all the dependencies are not there. Here also, everything that the code requires is not there. Okay. So what you do, you package this whole thing into what we call as a container. This whole thing into a container. And I deploy this container onto the server. So now the server is able to recognize this code, this Python, and all the libraries. You understood? So the container is able to run on the server automatically. Now, if I want this code to work on this server, I don't need to install anything on the server. I will just take the container and deploy the container on the server. The code will work.
Yeah.
Got it.
Oh,
So
yes.
So
Yeah.
this is called containerization of applications. Okay, you would have heard something called as microservices.
Yes. Microservices.
So for microservices, we make sure that the applications are containerized. Why do you want to containerize it? Because we want to solve the problem of inconsistent environments. Okay,
Okay.
so all
Okay.
this yeah, you want to say something? You want to ask something?
No. 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 No.
Okay, so all this container, we will be learning a DevOps tool which is called as Docker. Okay, these containers are created by something which is called as Docker. Okay. There are other companies as well, which is called as Rocket D. These are all companies, this container D, which allow us to create this containerized applications. Okay. And when I told about scaling up and scaling down, right? You want something which allows um, large scaling of containerized applications. So this containers that are created, you need something to manage it. Okay. Like I may have 10,000 containers. Okay. At a time, I might have 10,000. I may at a time have only 10 containers, right? Who is going to manage all of this? For that, we have something which is called as Kubernetes. Okay, I think you would have heard something about Kubernetes, right?
No.
Okay,
Um,
no problem. So in DevOps, the main thing that we learn is this
uh-huh.
Docker, like I told. Okay,
Yeah.
then it is Kubernetes, which in short
Mhm.
is by Google. They are made this Kubernetes. Okay, so in short, you call the capital K and S, and the number of letters in between. You count them, and there are 8. So that is Kubernetes. And I told you, right, infrastructure, right? I want to create the infrastructure. Uh, in one day, I want to spin up 10,000 servers. The next day, I want to scale down. Okay, through
Yeah.
code, I want to create servers and all of that. Okay, so all that you use something called as Terraform. Okay, so these are basically the main ones, but we don't only learn this in the coursework. We'll be learning a lot of them. Testing tools, like for instance, what do you call us? Say Ansible. Sorry, what is a lot of testing tools we'll be learning, like Selenium. Okay, then some configuration tools we'll be learning, which you call as Ansible. Okay, and configuration tools, there are a lot of them: Ansible, Puppet, Chef. Okay, these are all for configuration. Okay, by configuration, I mean that suppose today there were only 100 servers, okay, and tomorrow I want 10,000 servers. What about the software? The infra can be created using Terraform infrastructure, like the server. What about the software inside those servers? Got it? That also need to be automatically created, right? For that, we use these tools: Ansible, Puppet, Chef. Okay, these will help us to say deploy softwares with just one script that we'll be writing. Okay, so a good thing that you do know a little bit of Python, because um, sometimes you need to use Python as well, but mainly the languages that we're going to learn, okay,
Mhm.
which is kind of specific to DevOps, you could say, is .YAML extensions. The code that we're going to write is .YAML. Okay, yet another markup language. Okay, this is one language that we're going to learn. YAML, YAML. Okay, you can also write it as .yml also. Okay, it's pretty much the same. This is one language that we'll be learning. Okay, so when we're learning Kubernetes, that time we will be learning this. Okay, second language that we're going to learn is Groovy. Okay, it's a scripting language, Groovy scripts. This is for Jenkins, for the pipelines. Okay, don't worry, it's all new, but once you get used to it, you'll understand. Okay, it's not very
Yeah.
difficult. Okay, they're all pretty new,
Okay.
because if you have not learned DevOps in the master's course, then it will be new for
Mhm.
you, but it's not difficult. Okay, just need to know the
Oh.
basics, how the scripts are written, and then you can replicate it across for other applications as well. Okay, so these are the main
Okay.
ones that we're going to be learning. Okay, and
Okay.
yeah. So for the coursework, everything we'll be providing PPTs, okay, for
Mhm.
every single topic, okay,
Oh,
and there will be lab sheets,
okay.
okay. That means I will be providing screenshots,
Mhm.
okay. So and also along with that, the what is it, commands that are used. Suppose I'm writing a script, a command. What
Mhm.
command leads to what output? Okay, so full lab sheets you will be getting, so you can go through them, and all sessions are live, and you will also be provided with all the recordings.
Okay.
Okay, so suppose you do try your max to add the live sessions, because what happens is when you miss a session, it just piles up. You might miss out on going back to the recording, coming back. So by any chance, if you do miss it, then there are recordings available which you can refer anytime. Okay, you can even download them and keep for your reference. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
and all of them, for them, we will be providing the cloud, mainly AWS we will be using. Okay, So all the relevant setups, everything, tutorials, everything will be going through, and it will be on the go. That means I will be showing you all the demonstrations live, and if we do face any hiccups, we'll solve them immediately then and there during the session itself. Okay, so that it doesn't pile over to the next class. Is it okay?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any doubt you have till now?
No.
Yes. And I will just show you, just go to the, okay, so business benefits, everything becomes faster. And since everything is faster, you're able to bring in more efficiency and return on investment. Like I said, version controlling, you can roll back anything, any mistakes that were done. All this happens. And DevOps is right now being adopted with the help of certain automation tools. Okay.
Okay.
And it's not just tools, you have to transform all the technology, because most of the things that you learned right now, you would not have heard them, right, in
Yeah.
other stuff. So those are kind of like a complete technology transformation that is required. Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, this is what we call as DevOps lifecycle. So I mentioned a bunch of tools, right? All those
Yeah.
tools, they all come and fit into certain sections of the DevOps cycle. Okay, so DevOps lifecycle is in the form of an infinity loop, because it's always continuous. Changes happen always. Okay. So like I said, we'll be learning Git, GitHub, that is part of code versioning. Okay, we'll be learning certain testing tools, that is part Selenium, right? Then for management, configuration management by the operations team, we have Chef, Ansible, right? For containerization, we have Docker. Okay. And also, once you finish deployment, doesn't mean that the job is done. You need to monitor. So network monitoring you have to do, then server monitoring. All this can be done using some of these tools. We'll be going through all of them. Okay. And so if I divide this into two parts, divide it into two parts. The first part is called CI and the second part is called CD. Okay.
Mhm.
C stands for continuous. Always. Okay. Continuous integration. And the second part, D stands for, this is continuous integration. This is continuous deployment or delivery, you call it. Okay. So every time new version of the code comes, then again we have to test it and deploy it. Okay. So at every single phase, we have to learn certain DevOps tools. We are not only limiting to this, there would be a lot more. Okay. So ideally, as a DevOps engineer, what is the expectation from the job market? You should know a little bit of that container part, right? Which I told you, which is nothing but virtualization. You have to be like an operations team, like a system administrator, and knowledge of network storage, security. This is in terms of cloud. We'll be learning in terms of cloud computing, AWS. Okay, little soft skills. Okay, why we need soft skills? Because we are trying to convince companies to be able to adopt these new technologies. So we should be able to provide them with the best tools that are available. So we need to have some convincing power and knowing all these automation tools. This is what is basic. And now a little bit knowledge of coding. Now, like you said, Python, you know a little bit. So a little bit knowledge of coding is required. All the new languages we will learn on the go, whether it be YAML or the Groovy script that I told. Okay.
Okay.
So this is some of the expectation I already told you. Terraform. Okay. We will be learning Docker, Kubernetes. There's something called a Swarm, Docker Swarm. We'll learn that. And also monitoring. These are also some of the tools that we'll, okay. Monitoring of the logs and everything of the server and all of that. Okay. These are some of the extra things that we'll be learning. And let's also go through the global market. So right now, currently, DevOps engineers, maximum demand is in Europe itself. Okay, second being USA, and third being Asia Pacific. But the best part about being a DevOps engineer is that it's all cloud-based, right? I can remotely log into a cloud server and set up my automation tools, right? And maintain them on the go. Okay, so what happens is the maximum number of remote jobs opportunity. So even if I'm sitting in Asia Pacific, I can apply for a job in USA and set up their automation systems for them. Got it. So the chances of job opportunities are huge. So you're not only limited to a particular market. Most of the times you're judged based on the skills that you have and how many, say you have done some maybe self-learning projects. You can show those projects and all. Okay. So
Okay.
salary trend, DevOps engineers do have a good average salary. This is in GBP. Okay. So this is going to increase because this is just data of 2023. Now it's much more than this. Okay. So there are a lot of companies, and it's not only, and these automation tools, they are not only limited to one sector. Not it's healthcare, banking, finance, all these banking, finance, even retail sector, they all require, all the companies that are working in this IT companies, they all require DevOps. Okay. So this is one thing that is never going to go out of fashion, at least not for the next 5, 10 years.